So this is part 4. I've shown you how all the pyramids in Mexico are connected with Easter Island, Galapagos Islands and Tahiti. There is much more to tell. Many other sacred places in the world are also connected with each other through a line. I've shown that in part 1, and I also have explained where I got the information from and how in part 2 and 3 I thought about something special, and that is where I found a new evidence for who are the first inhabitants of America and where are they coming from. We change to Google Sky again, and then we see here star sign Orion and the star sign Taurus and Polaris. And on the other side of our screen, when we take our measure tool and we start at the star Polaris, then we look up the star Tuban. Why do we need the star Tuban? You can check it out on Wikipedia. Tuban was the first precession star. That is very interesting for Mr. Ticking Clock, who made a movie on YouTube. The prime meridian is not arbitrarily placed. Here I've shown, like in part 1 and part 3, that the star Tuban is connected with the pyramids in Giza. And that is why that is the former prime meridian. Here we have the same line as in part 1. And then we see again important stars like Sirius, Regulus, Altair, and the green line again was Easter Island and the star Sirius. Tuban has a line now, and I gave it a red color. We can change back from Google Sky to Google Earth again, and then when we look up Cairo and the pyramids of Giza, then you notice that when you zoom in, the line you put over Tuban, it almost fits with the pyramids in Giza. So what are we going to do about that? I'll show you. We make a new line from the pyramids in Giza to Polaris. There we go. So, we clicked our line on the pole. And we change over again to Google Sky. There we have our line, yellow, still, because we didn't give the name and the color, so that is also possible. You don't have to save the line first. It ends up at the star sign Boötes, and that is indeed Giza, and also the place Petra. So that is beautiful. Now, I feel trapped by the makers of Google Earth and Google Sky. They put all the stars in that same direction. They put the star Polaris and Tuban aligned with Giza and the pyramids. And the same alignment means, like in part 1, that then Sirius and Regulus and Altair are on the line Easter Island, Easter Island. And there is much more to tell. The makers of Google Earth and Google Sky were probably waiting for somebody to find everything out. On Wikipedia you can read that the star of the precession in the future will be Alderamin. Now let's see then if when we make a line from Polaris and Alderamin, I hoped, of course, that I would end up somewhere in China, and of course at the pyramids in China, because that would be perfect. One line goes to the pyramids in Giza, and one line goes to the pyramids in China. Would have been wonderful. But if you check it out, yeah, you may get out turning disappointed. We change over because we now made a yellow line from Polaris Alderamin, and then we can check out what city is crossing the line. We go to the navigator, put the world the right place, and the line goes to New Guinea. So yeah, that I wonder if the people over there were watching the stars every day. But also it's possible in the Stone Age. And this is a city very well known in Japan. It is Tokyo. I didn't put a pin on that, so we have to fill it in, and then the searcher, then one of those red balloons lights up, so we know now for sure that that is Tokyo. But Tokyo is a little bit too young. The city Tokyo is not old enough to join the other places. So, and here we have of course the Forbidden City. And here, in the Forbidden City, you can make a beautiful line almost from south to north. And then you can see, if you zoom out, that it differs 1 degree. It is wonderful to check this place out, of course, and it's so interesting, yeah, that everybody knows, of course, the Forbidden City from that famous movie, The Last Emperor. But did you also know that behind the Forbidden City there is a very large, long road? And here it ends. It ends in a certain garden or in a park. So this was only the back garden of the Emperor. That is how large the Forbidden City was once. Now it is a museum. Since the Forbidden City is almost fixed to the north, we can also make a line again to the pole to check if there are certain stars also in an alignment with the Forbidden City. As you can see here, I already made all the places. I started with only 2 lines, the first line and the last line of the procession. I made them all. But the place where the Chinese pyramids are is of course Xi'an. So I also made a line from Xi'an, and as you can see, there is also the same kind of place like the Forbidden City. And that is indeed because the differences in empires and emperors, yeah, they had different places everywhere in China. But that is better, you can check that out on Wikipedia yourself. Study the history of China, very interesting. What we know now, when we change over back to Google Sky, then we can look up the Forbidden City and also Xi'an, where the Chinese pyramids are. I've been reading Wikipedia, and I know now that Xi'an means Western peace. Probably also these lines and this star means more to the west, so that is the Western peace. And as you can see, there are two stars in the star sign Draco matching the Forbidden City and also Xi'an. And if you look at this picture, yeah, well, what do you know? The procession stars and also the star in the head of the Draco and the star and the line to the Forbidden City, Xi'an. It makes the Illuminati sign in the sky. Here I have two more lines, and that is also hitting a certain star. But we were talking about stars in Draco. I checked out what the place is where a line through the Draco, where it ends up. Turns out to be in Iran, Draco, where it ends up. Turns out to be in Iran, where, of course, there is the main city Teheran, but there is a very old, ancient city, and that is where we are going now. What is close to Teheran? When we change over, we see indeed it still matches with the Forbidden City, it still matches with Xi'an, and here I've shown you that the next line going to one of the stars of Draco matches with Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Zoom out again, check the other ones, and as you can see it is a little bit to the side of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, a little bit more to the west. The other line was going through Teheran, but also through a very ancient city called Isfahan. Now, I've shown you with Giza, I've shown you with Harappa, that the match with the stars is a little bit too much to the west, and then we have to put the line back a little bit to the east. Now, what this means, in fact, is that Harappa matches with Draco, Isfahan or Persepolis matches with Draco, and Giza matches with Draco. But in the meantime, since 2000 years or 4000 years, the stars moved a little bit. That is why it doesn't match anymore now. But the distances are the same. So in the past, it was a great match. Another star that does not belong to Draco goes to another sacred place from the Stonehenge. Now you're saying, oh no, does Stonehenge belong to it too? Yeah. Turns out, people, that if we follow that line from Stonehenge to Polaris, we cross the star Phalat in the Great Bear or the Big Dipper. And that is how I show you that many ancient cultures are connected with Draco, and yeah. In another movie I'm going to say something about